Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Alex Cuesta Daily Show. Thank you for joining me on this fine evening, Thursday, February 10th, 2022. Before we get into any of the fun stuff, any of the good things that we have going on today, always remember, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars if you are on Spotify or iTunes, and spread this word of mouth. Tell everyone you know loud and proud about this really great show that you hear every single day, Monday through Friday. And then if you're lucky on a Saturday. So there you go. We're going to get right through this today because the article is fairly long, but not crazy. I mean, it's fucking batshit, but the length isn't crazy. But we are going to start off where we start off all the time now. The Biden COVID tracker. Yes. Holding the man in the White House to account. So where did we leave off yesterday? Yesterday, the 9th, we had 77,065,356 cases, 908,820 deaths. I said we'd probably be over 910 today, and we are, as of February 10th, 2022, we are at 77,188,396 cases. That is up 136,890, which is an improvement over where we've been in terms of cases. Let's get that number under 100,000. Then I'd start to see, I'd be happier there. And also 911,072 deaths. We're up 2,252. That number kind of fluctuates from 2,000 up to 3,000 in somewhere. So it's like, it's been fluctuating again. It's a number that we would love to see tick down even further. But what does this keep telling us? The tick downs are happening. This is still an unmitigated disaster from a man that came in and said he had a plan to defeat it. He didn't. He failed. And now the plan is a plan to tell you to live with it and learn to live with it and the new normal and all this. And he has another problem on his hands, though. Joe Biden has another problem on his hands. There is fractures of brewing within his own party. Now, typically, the president is the leader, de facto leader of that party. Obviously, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer also share a good amount of leadership there. And I forget who, there was a story about him. I forget who the DNC chair is. Again, another strong leader in the party. But Joe Biden's a leader of the Democrat Party. And that means that his message usually resonates through the party. And this is not just federal. A lot of these state representatives, your governors, take this as well. Well, we're seeing a little bit of a split here. So the fourth estate has been put on notice that the federal government is not done using this crisis. They are not done with this virus just yet. You have President Biden not backing off his masking recommendations. He finally, I guess, gave up the vaccine mandate after Supreme Court after Supreme Court after Supreme Court shot it down as unlawful because it was an authoritarian dictate, even though they kept it up for the healthcare workers, which is fucked up. But even going further into that, it has just been, Walensky, the newest CDC chair, she's keeping up saying we should continue to mask indoors. But what are we seeing? We're seeing now Democratic governors all across the state seeing their constituency going, no more. We see this. It's in front of our faces. You can't continue to tell us not to believe what we see and what we hear anymore. And they are understanding that their constituency is going against us. And this is in some of the most liberal places that this is happening. New York, New Jersey, Delaware, California, Oregon, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Illinois. They are all easing masking very much or lifting it completely. Some places keeping it in schools, like the idiot Kathy Hochul in New York. You're a moron. But a lot of them are lifting it in general. They're given arbitrary dates because they have no idea what the fuck they're doing. I forget which one it is. One of them is in March. They're lifting it for kids, and mid-February for people. Like, they're arbitrary. They're stupid. There's no reason for why they're doing it, how they're doing it. But now there's a lot of places doing it while the White House is doubling down. You can read about this on an Insider article. I'm not doing that article, but it's an Insider article from Nicole Guadiano. And it's funny when you read certain things like this because they're trying to paint this in the best light ever. They're trying their best in the fourth estate, in the media, to not make this seem like Biden doesn't have control of his party. Biden's message doesn't resonate. Biden's message is not a mandate. His victory was not a mandate. So what's going on here? What's going on? So outside of that article, which again, they tried to puff up, you have another few articles. I saw a bunch, but I'm just going to name a few here. CBS News, and there's two from CBS here. They're really carrying water. Will a mask protect me even if no one else is wearing one? They pop up. They talk about, yeah, it could still protect you, this and that. Masks. What do we know about masks? They're ineffective. Period. They are ineffective. The particles of CoV SARS-V2 or whatever the actual name of it is are extremely tiny, even smaller than the very trusted N95s. You're still getting millions of particles to flow through that. Cloth ones are absolutely useless. Surgical masks are damn near useless. And the main reason is this is an extremely infectious disease. That is not a question. It moves quickly. It infects quickly. Any sort of hole in your mask, you're done. There is no, well, it protects most. No, because all it takes is a little bit to get in. It takes one to get into your system and then it multiplies. It latches on. The spike protein latches on and you're done. A little bit of protection does not count with an agent like this. That's one thing they're trying not to tell you. This is as infectious as it says. It does not matter if you have a little bit of protection. You're only getting some of it in. You're still ingesting this. You're still getting the particles in you. So you are going to get sick. Take the fucking mask off. It doesn't make a difference. And with the N95s, you're still getting a ton of it through the fibers, a ton of it. But it is more effective if it's properly fit tested and if it's the right size. Nobody is fit testing every N95 they put on. No one is checking the size to make sure it's proper for their faces. No one's wearing them correct. No one. Very few. If you really work with them all the time, you're wearing them. You know how to wear them correct. Guarantee you don't either. And newsflash, when you touch it to adjust it, you're fucked. It's contaminated. It's done. Newsflash. If you wear it long enough and you start to feel that liquid buildup, all that sweat in there, it's ineffective now. So no, masking isn't effective. Let's keep, another article in CBS, or is it CBS? NBC, not CBS. NBC. NBC's been one of the water carriers. COVID fatigue is making the pandemic worse and prolonging its end, experts say. Experts say, love that. That means they made it up. Experts say means they made it up. And also, listen to this. Listen to with that language. They're blaming you. They're blaming you. You're the fucking reason why a disease that we have not been able to contain or beat for 2 years, your fault. Not us, not the plan that we had, that we claimed that we were going to fix this. Not us. It can never be us. We are taking no responsibility for the continued death. We are taking no responsibility for the continued cases. None. It is your fault why this is still going on. Listen to that. They're all insane. They're all insane. The COVID craziness is all insane. But one thing that is obvious, they are not in lockstep. They certainly are not in lockstep, which is not typical on the left. The left is usually pretty good at carrying their own water with each other. Whether they're right, wrong, or not, they always go through it. And they are very happy to continue to spew bullshit if they think it's going to win an election. What we're seeing now is these governors understand. You're not winning an election if you continue this nonsense, because people can see, the original beta version, which was the one that it wasn't the initial, the alpha was the one from China. Beta is the one from the UK. The coronavirus in the UK is the one that widely spread to us. And that one sucked. It spread quick. It ran through our morbidly obese and our old and those that had comorbidities. It killed a lot. We didn't know what it was, but body positivities made it seem like fat people weren't fucking dropping left and right. Fat people were dying left and right in this. The quote unquote healthy unvaccinated were fat people, 95% of them. But it was a lot of elderly dying. It ran through. And then we got to gamma. not as bad. But then Delta roared in. Delta sucked. Bigger spread, a little bit less deadly, but still did its thing. Now we have Omicron. Omicron's a completely different version of this virus, and they don't tell you about that either. Omicron doesn't attack the lungs the way that Delta and Beta did, or Alpha either, over in China. It doesn't do that. It mostly stays in the neck area, which still is irritating. It still sucks. It can still kill you, don't get me wrong, but it's not as deadly of an overall disease. They're not telling you about that. They don't want you to know about that because they want to write articles like the one that I'm talking about here today, written by Allie Volpe from Vox on February 9, 2022. I'm vaxxed, boosted, and just had COVID-19. Can I relax now? That's the headline. And then the subheadline, it comes down to how much risk you're willing to tolerate. Anyone that is honest about what they see in front of them, what's going on right now, just knows that that is a fear-mongering tactic. And we're going to read about it. It's actually funny to see how insane these people are. So let's go into the article. Let's get going here. At the start of the pandemic, recovery from a coronavirus infection was perhaps a reason for cautious optimism. If you were lucky enough to bounce back from COVID-19, you had some level of immunity. Over time, research bore this out, though it also showed that immunity wanes. So recovering from the virus wasn't a one and done deal. So how should vaccinated people think about their immunity after they recovered from a breakthrough infection? So that's a lot of breakdown already in this first article. Lucky enough to bounce back from COVID-19. First set of fear mongering. A disease that kills less than 1% of those that it infects, number one. Number two, a disease that kills those with multiple comorbidities, typically, not just one, multiple comorbidities, elderly, typically, and it really didn't show to kill those who are fit, in shape, and middle-aged. And it really didn't kill young kids, especially in the beginning. And it still really doesn't kill the young. They want to make it seem like it kills the young, the federal government, the CDC, the WHO, anyone that talks, your teachers' unions. They really want to make it seem like the young is really suffering from this. And they're not. They get sick, they recover. They are not suffering from this. They're not dying from this. And the ones that do die, sadly enough, usually have comorbidities to go with it. Let's keep going in this paragraph right here, because just this paragraph. There was some immunity, it wanes, and how should vaccinated people think about their immunity? So let's stop here. I don't call it a vaccine anymore. They're not vaccinated. How should people with a very good pre-treatment think about their immunity after they recovered? Do a breakthrough infection, which is another word. Breakthrough is bullshit. When you have as many infections of vaccinated people, quote unquote vaccinated people, as we've had, there are no more breakthrough infections. It's not a breakthrough anymore. It is a typical way to be. Omicron does not care if you have a good pre-treatment or not. So let's keep going. They're going to try and answer this question. It's a beautiful thing. After an Omicron surge that infected hundreds of thousands of people a day in the US, including many people who had breakthrough cases, some are wondering if the combination of the vaccination and infection, known as hybrid immunity, will offer some kind of lasting protection. Is this brush with the virus enough to warrant relief and a resumption of life sans pandemic precautions? Vox spoke with experts to help advise the newly recovered. So let's go here. They use breakthrough again. It's a bullshit term. Breakthrough cases are not a thing right now. It's just cases. And then they talk about if it will have lasting protection with the infection and the vaccination. And we already see that this is getting weaker every time. Every single version of this has gotten weaker and weaker. It has waned. We have a better chance of beating this if we just go with it and live with it. And if you want to get the great pre-treatment that is the Moderna, the Pfizer, I'm not knocking their ability to keep you from dying, their ability to keep you out of the hospital, not knocking that ability. Is it a vaccine? No, you don't get viruses on vaccines. You can't pass viruses on vaccines. So no. But if you decide to get the pre-treatment, it does work well. And again, they spoke with experts. Notice that they pick experts that agree with their worldview and their view on this. They refuse to bring anybody in that says the contrary. So they speak with sympathizers better, medical sympathizers. I like to call them that. Let's go. What does a COVID-19 infection do for my immunity? Immunity is defined as your body's ability to protect you from getting sick when you're exposed to bacteria, viruses, parasites, or fungi. Immunity can help protect you from getting infected in the first place, and if you do get infected, it could prevent you from feeling ill or protect you from severe symptoms. Depending on the type of infection, this kind of protection can last for months, years, or even a lifetime. For instance, once people recover from measles, they're immune for life and won't catch it again. But most illnesses aren't one and done. Immunity to COVID-19 can last for months, but it gets weaker over time, and the exact duration is still being studied. So like other similar viruses, like this COVID-19, which the flu comes to mind. Again, I'm not saying the flu and COVID-19 are the same thing. Idiots, listen. But the flu is another one where you can get the flu yearly. You can be unlucky enough to get it yearly because you do wane. The immunity does wane from it, number one. Number two, it comes back in different strains every time. And that's what we could be experiencing with COVID. It could just be coming back with different strains, and it will become something that we can live with. You get it? That sucks. Stay home from work, take whatever the post-treatment drug that they have at the time, and just, get better at your house. And if it gets that much worse, if you start to get pneumonia symptoms, like we've seen, a lot of the similar symptoms do come from COVID and the flu, you go to the hospital and you figure it out. They treat it like a boogeyman. Let's keep going here. Everyone's body and immune system react differently to the viruses they encounter. Unlike vaccines, which deliver a standard size and formula to large populations, having a COVID infection is a very understandardized thing, says Theodore Bailey, the chief of division and infectious diseases at the Greater Baltimore Medical Center. Even though everyone's immune system reacts differently to the same vaccine dose, some could have a serious side effects and others could not. The shots themselves are standardized. So that is just base fact. They just spoke, the shots are standardized. But the issue with the shots is they don't know if it's effective, how much the doses to do. They're still thinking about boosting us over and over and over and over and over again. So even though they're standardized, even though they're easier to put a study on because you know how much is going in, they still have no idea how the fuck this thing actually competes with the actual virus, how it competes with the natural immunity. They're still studying that because they don't know. They don't know at all. So while it's standardized, yes, but you do get some standardization out of the virus. People that are showing symptoms are showing the same symptoms. So that is a type of standardization. And you can then test those who have had similar severities and put them against each other. So you can get numbers out of this. They're playing dumb. They're playing dumb with this. If you wanted to, you can get numbers, especially because all of the people that get tested and get positive in a place have to report this to their state. They get, the contact tracing is still a thing. So it's not like they have no numbers, no data, no severity numbers on this. They have them all, but they're playing dumb here. They're playing dumb to make it seem like they can never understand how the severities work and who got more severe and if they have better immunity or not. We've had this for 2 years. We've been a case study for 2 years. They can start to flesh out. If you had a really bad version, what is your immunity level now so many months? If you had a mild version, how immune are you? They are starting to flesh this out. They just don't want you to know about it in this article. Let's keep going. If you tested positive for COVID-19, it's difficult to know how much virus you were exposed to, how much it managed to reproduce in your body, how it engaged your immune system, how engaged your immune system became to fight it off. So it's hard to know how protected you will be too. One person's infection is not the same as anyone else's infection, Bailey says. So again, there we go. That's the playing it up there. We cannot possibly know how this worked in your body. Therefore, just get the vaccine because we know how that works. And that could be said, though, about any illness. Any illness. You don't know how it reacts to a person's body, but there are certain vaccinations that work, that are foolproof. Everyone brings up the polio vaccination. Well, we make kids get the polio vaccination. Yeah, because when you get the polio vaccination, you don't fucking get polio. And you can't pass it to anybody else. So yes, this one-size-fits-all standard vaccination of polio will ward off any level of polio, whether it's high exposure or low exposure, because it's a vaccination. Where a really good pretreatment does not do that. So to recommend just going out and getting this awesome pre-treatment just because we know it's standardized is not a very good reason. I'm not against them. I think they do work well. If you want to get them and try to protect yourself, do it. If you don't have to because they lie. Let's keep going. Oh, this is one of my favorite lines here. Studies show. What studies? They give a clickable thing. Let's click on this. Studies. What is this study? It's from the Lancet, so that's awesome. It's a fairly long. Oh, the Lancet website sucks. I'm gonna have to go into this. Maybe I'll get back to this, but studies show. Whenever they say that, it's one study here. Number one, studies. It's one study. They have biological studies. They have a panel in here, but it's one major. They put it all in there. One of the studies, it's getting in the data, but to say studies like big things, they have references here. Yeah, it's a small little thing. They give you a synopsis. I mean, again, don't ever trust that. They give it clickable. Go read it for yourself. I made the mistake of not reading it. I should have done that, but still, studies show. They handpicked how many studies on this. Biological studies 1, 2, epidemiological studies 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, clinical studies 1, 2. So they didn't pick that many studies. So studies show. Let's keep going. That before Omicron came along, recovery from COVID-19 infections made people a lot less likely to get infected again, at least for many months. But Omicron seemed to behave differently. A non-peer-reviewed study conducted during England's Omicron wave found that Omicron has the potential to evade immunity from past infection or 2 vaccine doses. Similarly, another non-peer-reviewed Danish study found that Omicron was able to evade immune system responses in vaccinated and unvaccinated people alike. Though a small South African study showed that Omicron infection may protect against Delta, which now compromises a small minority of cases in the United States. They forget to mention that even boosted people are getting Omicron. Omicron gives no fucks. Does not care. Does not care one bit. Omicron's doing what Omicron does. There is no stopping Omicron. Period. We haven't been able to stop it. We're not going to. Good news, Omicron isn't the killer that the other two were. That's good news. But they don't want to tell you the good news here. Let's keep going. For vaccinated people who do get sick, breakthrough infections provide a boost in immunity, according to research from December. People who have had both the illness and vaccination have a much higher level of antibodies than those people who have just recovered and have not been vaccinated, says William Schaffner, a professor of infectious diseases at Vanderbilt University Medical Center. And higher levels of antibodies are associated with longer duration of protection. If you've recently recovered from COVID-19 and are unvaccinated, Schaffner advises getting the shot to capitalize on this protective combination. So, yeah, go get the shot. All this is, the answer to everything with them is go get the shot. Go get the shot. Go get the shot. Just get the shot. Just get it. Get the shot. Seems like a little bit of propaganda piece here. What do you think? That's all they're pushing. They admit that you do have antibodies. If you have a natural immunity, you have that. And they said it appears that they have more. The illness and the vaccination. I think it said they appears at one point somewhere, but it's not like it's foolproof. It's not like it's some research. And again, click on research here. What does it say? Antibody response and viral. It's one study here. So I guess, yeah, one study is better than none. We've had a short period of time, but again, they just put in whatever they favor. And again, you never get a conflicting viewpoint from these people. They can't do that. Misinformation. Joe Rogan's in trouble for that. Let's keep going here. Is it safe to go to restaurants and bars after COVID-19 infection? Yes, we must ask our overlords permission to do this. You're extremely unlikely to be reinfected with the same variant within a month or two of recovering from COVID-19, Bailey says. One scientific review of published research on COVID-19 immunity suggests that antibody levels begin to decline 3 months after a previous infection. However, when you gain immunity to one variant, you don't necessarily gain immunity to others. It is possible to be swiftly reinfected with Omicron after you recover from Delta. So a breakthrough infection isn't permission to live up like it's 2019. Yes, stay scared. Don't go live your life. Stay scared because don't go out. Don't go do things. Stay in your house. Just stay in your house. Listen to us. Be scared because when you're scared, you listen. Don't start living your life again. Keep going. Because there will always be a risk of an infection, Bailey suggests thinking about immunity in the weeks following recovery as a little like airbags in a car. Airbags protect drivers from serious injury, but risky behaviors like texting, speeding, and careless driving offset the benefits of an airbag. Something similar is true of post-infection immunity. Airbags provide protection, but persistent high-risk activities like going unmasked in a crowded bar increase risk of reinfection. So they want to take a virus, this virus that we have right now, and compare it to driving a car. And again, they compared this pretreatment to airbags. It doesn't save you. You could still die. It just maybe lightens the blow of the accident of Omicron. They admitted that this is not a vaccine right there. And then the risky behaviors, going unmasked to a crowded bar. What are you going to, like, again, masks don't work. They love to promote this masking shit. But all this is fear mongering. You might get sick again. So don't go out. Don't do it. You might get sick. You really don't. You might get sick again. You know what, though? Actually, just don't get out of bed. Don't get out. Because if you get down, you might roll your ankle. God, you don't want to get hurt. And you know what? Don't make coffee. If you make coffee, you might burn yourself. Too much risk there. Don't do it. They just want you to live scared. They want you to live scared when, a ton of people are living just fine. Just fine. They get sick, they recover, they move on with their lives. Live scared, though. Listen to them. Let's keep going. That's not to say recently recovered people don't have any wiggle room. They just have to decide how much risk they're willing to tolerate. In the initial months post-infection, most healthy vaccinated people who are not immunocompromised have a low risk of severe reinfection, Bailey says, meaning they can move about the world knowing that a visit to the gym won't kill them. Newsflash, a visit to the gym wasn't going to kill you before. Visit to the gym wasn't likely to kill you during the UK strain. 1%, under 1% death rate. Not very high. Very contagious. Very unlikely to die from the get-go. Even more unlikely to die now, especially with how infectious it is and how little death there is. Very unlikely to die. The fear-mongering is insane. You have a little wiggle room if you just recently recovered. Who the fuck are they to tell you anything that you have? We have risk every day. Just waking up and getting out of bed, like I said, you have risk. There is always risk of death. Risk of death is real at all times. Freak shit happens. Can't live in fear, but they want you to. Keep going here. They do have a level of risk that's similar to other things that we tolerate, like driving on the highway, Bailey says. Therefore, doing things like going out to a restaurant, potentially traveling, becomes something that is safer. And is safer still if you wear masks as much as you can, and you're not going into super high density things like a rave or a mosh pit. Those things will still push your risk back up again. Again, don't live like an individual. Hive mentality. Do what you're told. Only stay in your lane. Never color outside the lines. Only do exactly what we tell you to do. Make sure you wear that mask. That piece of cloth that does nothing. That surgical mask that has holes everywhere that does nothing. That N95 that you did not fit test and you readjust all the time and you don't have suction to your face. Wear all those things that don't do shit. Keep wearing them, though. Wear them. If you're not wearing your symbol of virtue signaling, fuck you, you're against us. Let's trudge on here. What other fun stuff can I do safely now? And what precautions are necessary? The giddy little Marxist asks. If you're thinking of getting on a plane or attending an indoor sporting event, Bailey says to ensure you're still taking precautions, like masking and avoiding crowds the best you can. Even though I have my airbag, I'm still going to put my seatbelt on. I'm still going to pay attention to traffic, he says. As I take that extra level of risk, I'm thinking about what else I can do in my immediate environment that limits unnecessary elevation of risk. So again, this person wants you to be the person that drives 5 miles under the speed limit and avoids freeways at all time. This person just wants you to live scared. You get honked at by everybody. Everyone knows you're a douchebag. Everyone knows you shouldn't be driving. Listen, again, if you're that scared, go away. No one's stopping you from coming out, like not coming out. There's plenty of things. You can order all your food at home. Uber Eats, Seamless, all that. You can get your groceries through Peapod or something of the like. I have Peapod over here at Stop and Shop or something of the like. You can order anything you want from Amazon or Alibaba or the likes. You don't have to leave. Get a remote job. They're everywhere now. You don't have to leave. No one's telling you to leave. Don't come and infringe on my shit because you're scared to live your life. His car example is terrible. The car example is terrible. Keep going. Schaffner agrees that recently recovered folks should still be wary of crowds and should continue to mask up indoors. Quote, it's not recommended that they be carefree and say, okay, I've gotten a get out of jail free card. I can do whatever I want, he says. Should you decide on a post-illness vacation, ensure that you're still testing and masking, especially if you're visiting with an elderly grandparent or an immunocompromised friend during or after your trip, Schaffner advises. Or how about this? You talk to that elderly grandparent or that immunocompromised person and say, hey, listen, the shit's still going on. You cool with us hanging out? Yes or no? Let them decide. How about some individual rights? Some, what is the word I'm looking for? I don't know, but some ownership of yourself. How about if that grandparent is like, I don't care, come see me. I'm elderly. I'm going to die soon anyway. Or the immunocompromised person is like, I'm willing to take that risk. I haven't seen you in forever. We've been living through this dumb fucking authoritarian thing for 2 years. Come hang out. What about their right? What about their right to just say, I don't care? What about their right to risk? What about their right to do something dangerous? We're not supposed to be living in safety all the time. We're not supposed to be living in a bubble. All of this recommendation is wrong. It's not human. All of these recommendations are not human. And I love the way they put it. I've gotten a get out of jail free card because that's what they tried to keep us in. They tried to keep us in a box this whole time. Look at the industries they've destroyed because they played favorites. This industry can go back to work in full, but this industry has to take these precautions. But this industry that does a similar level of services has no precautions. They picked and choose who to fuck in this whole thing. So again, all of these recommendations, this fear mongering is insanity, but it's what they want leftists who read Vox to read this and nod their head and go, yes, okay. And let's get mad at all these people who are living their lives because I'm jealous that they're not scared of this as I am. I am scared out of my mind and I am envious of people who aren't. So I'm just going to lash out at them angrily because I'm a fucking sheep. Keep going. While Schaffner says it's unlikely in the short term that you'll get an infection and spread it, it's still possible. The more time that passes following your recovery, the more likely it is that you could get reinfected and spread the virus. The CDC continues to recommend that anyone who tests positive go into isolation, even if they're asymptomatic. I mean, that's honestly going into isolation, even if you're asymptomatic. Number one, if you're asymptomatic, how are you going to find out? They want you to be testing yourself daily. It's bizarre. We don't test ourselves for anything daily. And there's deadly shit everywhere. We never test ourselves daily randomly if we don't feel sick. They want you to test yourself daily. That's insane. You know who it helps, though? The people that make the test. Because while you get them for free somewhere, you still got to order them if you don't want them. So if you want your daily test to be an insane psycho, you are now feeding a pharmaceutical company or whoever creates it, Abbott, whatever they are. You're now making them more rich. There is money involved in this, people. Money, a lot of it. Follow the money all the time. And again, whether or not you can get the infection, spread it, all that, just live your life. If you get sick, you'll recover. More than likely, you will recover quickly. Or you'll just feel like shit for a little and then you'll be good. Like it's the fear mongering of this. It's an illness. We get illnesses. Our bodies do it. And we're getting more used to it as we go along. Let's keep going. A few more paragraphs here. The risk of future variants should make people a little more careful about post-infection behavior, Schaffner says. When a new variant emerges, the world may face another round of wait-and-see uncertainty to determine how well vaccination, protection from prior infection, and hybrid immunity hold up against a mutated virus. Look at that. When a new variant emerges, they're confident that they're going to be so important again. A person like Schaffner wants to say that. They want another variant because then they become important again. It's been the kind of the criticism of doctors for the whole time. a lot of people will say like, hey, I believe we have the ability to cure cancer, but you know what? It's more profitable for big pharma and some of these doctors not to cure it. It's more profitable for doctors in the modern age to keep you sick, so you have to keep coming back to them. And as fucked up as I think that is, I don't think that's too far from the truth in some ways. And I'm thinking you're seeing it here. Someone like Schaffner, who's usually irrelevant, now is extremely relevant because of the pandemic. Their opinion matters now a lot. So when a new variant emerges, live in fear of the new variant. The new variant that's not here yet, live in fear of it because we don't know what it's going to do. Yet we've seen all these get weaker, but live in fear. Keep going. Ultimately, what activities you decide to partake in after recovering from COVID-19, Schaffner says, comes down to how much risk you're willing to withstand. If, quote, if you're 72 years old with diabetes, everything is at risk. That's what I would tell all my patients, he says. If you're 28 years old and otherwise completely healthy and you're vaccinated, the first thing, and you're recovered, the first thing I would ask is, are you vaccinated? Those folks can go out. But because nothing is, quote, safe or it comes without risk, he recommends everyone mask in indoor environments. Oh my God. So again, I agree with the 72-year-old thing. I've said it over and over to people. If I was 55 plus, I'd probably already have the booster in me. I'd probably be doing all these things because, I am the at-risk society. Elderly, this kills elderly people quickly. So yes, I would be taking all the precautions and be the fucking guinea pig of all these big pharma companies and continue to line their pockets. I would do it. But it's so funny. 28-year recovered. I would ask, are you vaccinated? Those folks can go out. So let's get this straight. If you're 28, otherwise completely healthy, recovered from COVID-19, but are not vaccinated, go sit in your house and do nothing. You can't go out because you're the unclean. You deserve to get this. And it's a shame that you recovered because people like you make other people unsafe. God, these people are fucking crazy. Let's go to this last paragraph and end this crazy, stupid, idiotic article. As cases subside, the overall risk will too. Less virus in the community means less chance of catching it and spreading it. On top of that, you can probably breathe a tentative sigh of relief for a few weeks post-infection, as long as you continue to avoid unnecessary risks like crowded dance floors and mask up around vulnerable loved ones and anyone outside your household. So again, they pushed the mask shit. They pushed in the last one. Masks don't work. I will say it all the time. Masks don't work. They are a symbol. Number one. Number two, that last article is complete bullshit. Less virus in the community means less chance of catching it and spreading it. No, you're wrong. Because we went on lockdown for months, quite literally months. And the virus spread and spread and spread and spread and killed and killed and killed. So no, your premise is wrong based off of past fact. And the fact that Omicron spreads even worse than both Beta and Delta did, I'd say you're wrong. You're completely and totally wrong. All your precautions are by historical trends and by facts wrong. We tried the whole entire don't be around anybody at all. Everyone stay at home. Don't do anything method. And it still spread everywhere. And it still killed a ton. The best way to beat this is to go about your life and live. If you get sick, figure it out. Like we all have always done from all of our illnesses. Take care of it as well as you can at home. Stay hydrated. Get lots of rest. If you feel like you're about to die, call the doctor and go to the hospital and then let them take care of it for you. That's why they're there. Emergencies. Don't go there if you feel a little sick. Don't be one of those idiots because then you clog up the hospitals. And then when they talk about, the hospitals are being overrun, it's mostly because of liberal left morons who believe this that go to get tested every day at these fucking hospitals. Use them as urgent care sites. And if they have a sniffle, go there because they think they're going to die from this. So Jesus Christmas, please. And yeah, I'll hear, no, the level of ICU is higher with the unvaccinated population. No shit, they're unvaccinated. And again, it's not a vaccine. They're not pre-treated. They don't have the pre-treatment. Again, I don't disagree. The pre-treatment keeps you out of the hospital. Pre-treatment probably keeps you from dying. Don't disagree. But the chances of dying, even without this pre-treatment, are still extremely low. So what do we get out of this, man? Just this article alone. Tinfoil hats. Call the right conspiracy theorists. Jesus Christmas, the tinfoil hats that are on with these people. They just want you to live in fear. That's it. That's the whole goal of this. Always be scared. Always, always, always look over your shoulder because you may die. This can still kill you. This will still kill you if you don't listen to us. Continue to listen to us. Continue to wear your masks, and maybe you won't die. But man, this is fear mongering to the core. This is propaganda to the core. This would make Goebbels really happy to read. He'd be like, man, they're really good. They did great. This propaganda was solid. And then, article upon article upon article, them following suit. And it's a sad place that we live in. And it's sad that there's so many people that believe in it. And I know Brian Stelter, hey, don't do your own research. Trust CNN. Trust we're real news. Russell Brand made fun of him perfectly. I love that. If you haven't seen Russell Brand making fun of Brian Stelter, you need to go see that. It was amazing. But at the same time, the fear mongering's got to stop. They understand that if they keep you scared, they can control you. And we see that. The scared ones are the ones that lash out emotionally, that are insane, that are the what you call it, the snitches. We see the ones that would turn over their Jew neighbors, 100%. I know people hate that. Oh, don't use the Holocaust in this situation. No, it's a great historical reference to what's going on now. So yes, it can be used. And if you're offended and you're a Jew, oh, well, sorry, you got offended. That's, again, like the risk of going out and getting the virus. That is a you problem. And that's what we're going to end it on here. You problems. Be an individual, make your own decisions. Jesus Christ, don't listen to Vox. They suck. God, this hurt my brain to do. So, all right, I'm going to end out this episode. As always, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars if you're on Spotify and iTunes, and please spread word of mouth. I will continue to melt my brain reading this type of shit and then bringing it to you so you can melt your brain with me. And if you agree with it, God, you're insane. You're just a crazy person. So thank you, everybody, so much for listening. I will be back tomorrow. I don't know if that's a threat or a promise to you guys, but I'll be back. All right, everyone. Talk to you later. See you tomorrow.